Yeah. All right, let's do it.
All right.
Just think of it as the rough draft of the podcast world. This is the Newbie Writers Podcast with your hosts, Damien Boat and Catherine Bramkamp.
Hey, this is episode 182, the Newbie Writers Podcast. Another week has gone by, and it's been a crap week, but that's okay. It's the weekend now.
It's the weekend, and we're here, and that makes it better.
Apparently.
I'm going to go with that.
It's raining here. It sucks. But whatever.
You have rain? That is like so awesome.
How condescending does that sound? Ugh.
No, are you kidding? I am in drought-ridden California. I'm thinking rain out of the sky. How great is that? And you don't have to pay for it. Woo!
And you know what we're getting? You've got to love the IQ of some people. We get these comments now going, oh, so much for global warming. It's freezing today.
Oh, my God.
I won't lecture anyone on that. Anyway.
Yeah, let's not lecture, but it was poorly named on the outset.
Now, before we get into it, we've got a guest on today, but how's your arm?
It's there. It's in a big blue cast, and it's annoying as heck.
Is Andrew poking you and annoying you with it? Because I know I would do that.
No, in fact, fortunately, it's on it's my left arm, and I sleep on the left-hand side of the bed so that my arm is not like smacking the poor guy the whole time. But he's getting better at helping me with my hair because I can't do anything with it with one hand. Very frustrating.
Sounds like a Patrick Swayze movie. Now,
could be.
We have a special guest on. We have Linda Popky on. Good morning, Linda.
Good. How are you?
Oh yeah, not too bad. Now, you're on to talk about. Sound like I nearly called you a moron. Then we won't do that. That's far from the truth. You're here to talk about marketing and why it's important.
Absolutely.
Because you've written a book called Marketing Above the Noise, which is good. I like noise.
I don't like noise, so I was interested in how do you get above the noise? Because the web, the internet, and for booksellers in particular, both independents, self-published, anybody, it's very, very noisy. There's a cacophony of sound out there. And so I was fascinated with the idea of marketing above the noise, and I wanted to ask you, Linda, tell us a little bit about the book, and then tell us some of your big ideas out of how do we get our marketing, how do we get our books above this fray? I'm looking forward to some good ideas.
Well, thank you, Catherine and Damien. And you're right. I mean, we don't want to be in silence, so we need some noise. But what started to happen is there are so many ways to reach customers and audiences, from your cell phone and just mobile devices to now there's the Internet of Things where messages can show up on your Fitbit or your Apple Watch or whatever. And so what's starting to happen is that consumers are getting just over inundated with messages, and it's just noisy and more noisy and more noisy. And just kind of throwing something into that doesn't help you get heard. So what my theory is, you've got to step back and understand what the basic concepts are, because some things have changed in marketing. Some things are very, very different. We have, we have online marketing, we have digital, we have social media, we have mobile devices, etc. But some things haven't changed in thousands of years. And some of the basic concepts of marketing still need to come into play, because those are the ones that will help you get heard above all this racket and noise out there.
Very cool. So what are some of the basics? And the reason I say this is that if we help newer writers, people who are just starting this, they may not have degrees in marketing, so they may not know what those basics are. So give us kind of a little mini marketing seminar and give us some basics.
Absolutely. And there's 8 factors that I believe are important, whether you're trying to market a product or a service or yourself or a piece of written work. And so these are all really important. And the first is to have a strategy. So it sounds pretty basic, but an awful lot of time you have people start to go off and execute first, and then they have the strategy later. That's kind of like getting in a car and saying, we're going to drive around. We'll figure out where we're going. But from a written,
and then we'll say we did it on purpose. You've been in cars with guys. I see that.
There you go. Absolutely. I'm never asking for directions.
Right.
So
Sorry,
for a writer, what's important is to understand why you're writing. What is your strategy? Is it, do you want credibility? Do you want to have advocacy? Or do you have a cause that you're trying to promote? Are you trying to earn money? Are you doing this because you really want to make your living as a writer? Or like myself, do you want to build your business and tell people about your business concepts? Or are you doing it for art? Maybe it's poetry or it's fiction. Or maybe there's a passion you want to portray. But whatever, knowing to start with what your strategy is, that will help you figure out where you want to go and what you want to do. So that's number one. The second thing is to really understand what your market is and who you're talking to. So again, from a writer's perspective, are you talking to a certain age group, a certain ethnic group? Again, are you fiction or nonfiction or business or memoir or whatever it is? But what does the market look like? Are there a lot of other people writing for this market? Are you competing with a lot of other books or written pieces out there? So understanding kind of, is it changing? And certainly the market for books in general is changing, and for writers. But is this an area where there's been a lot of new thought or new things coming in, and how are you going to fit in there? So that's number two.
Okay.
Once you know that, you need to understand really who your customers are. And for a writer, that's your readers. So again, are you talking to men? Are you talking to women? Are they young people? Are they older people? Are they a certain ethnic group? Are they in a certain place in their life? Are they parents? Do they have families? So understanding who they are and what kind of makes them tick, and where they would go and where they would be influenced. That's all extremely important. You need to have a good product. So you need to have a great, in our case as writers, we need to be good at what we do at our craft. And you need to put something together that people are going to enjoy reading. Because if you don't, you can sell a little bit for a while, but you can't fool all the people for too long. And you can do it once and that's it. You need to have a good brand then, and you need to understand what it is you stand for. And I think this is something that a lot of writers don't realize until they actually get out and start to publish. They think, I've written the book, I've gotten out there, either I'm self-publishing it or I've got a publisher, and now I'm done. But you need a platform. You need to understand what it is that people are looking for and why why you're the right person to say that. So anybody can write about leadership. Anybody can write about new sales. Anybody can write about global warming. But why should we read your book? And what is it that you stand for? And why should we be looking for you? So that's the brand. You need to know your sales channels. And again, for a writer, you say, well, okay, I've written the book and I'm done. Well, it's not that simple, because there's two types of sales channels. There's the people who sell the book, which could be, and again, it could be a different type of written material. But for a book, that's Amazon and Barnes and Noble and independent bookstores and maybe a couple of other people. But there are also the influencers, and those are the people who will sell the book indirectly by talking about you, by building buzz, by having podcasts. By having you available. And so you need to make sure that you're reaching out and you understand who those people are and how they're influencing the people you really want to get to. Then you talk about communications. And this is how you get your message out there. And again, as a writer today, you've written this wonderful piece of work. We'll presume that your writing is fabulous. But just because it's wonderful doesn't mean that people are going to go buy it and read it and tell their friends about it. So you've got to be communicating, and you've got to be telling people about what you're doing, about what your key messages are, about why they should be looking at this, why they should be telling their friends. And you've got to make it easy for them to find you, to read about you, to quote you, to tweet about you, etc. And then finally, there's something that's really about a kind of operations and feedback. So from a writer's perspective, you need to be continuously looking and saying, how am I doing? What kind of metrics do I have? Is everything I'm doing working? Should I change something? Am I getting somewhere or not? And too often we put all these marketing things in place and we say, okay, I've done this, now let's just go let it go. And particularly today, where we have such great technology and we can measure things and we have analytics, we need to look and say, am I doing the right things? And if it's not, and we're not doing the right things, we're not getting the results we want, how do we change that?
Question though, with marketing, if you've got a new book, I'm seeing this a lot, that people seem to be quite disgruntled with the current state of, say, social media. I've seen a lot of posts and comments saying, Twitter, I'm done with. I'm not selling any books. Facebook is ridiculous. How do you have to keep trying to come up with new avenues to get your work out there? Because it seems to be a big thing of, authors are they have their book and they go, right, sign up to Twitter now and I'm just going to promote it. And then they become really disheartened when they don't get anywhere with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting because one of the points I make in my book is that social media has its place, but it's not necessarily the be-all and of everything, because here's the thing. Social media is just another channel or a set of channels. And if you don't know who your audience is and where they're looking for you, I suspect that most authors, beyond those that are really best-selling authors, the rest of us are not going to sell a lot of books by tweeting about them, because that's not where our audience is going to look for books. And they may or may not sell a lot on Facebook. I mean, if you've got a family-oriented or a B2C type of thing, business to consumer, parenting, maybe you'll sell more of that on Facebook. But if you've got a business book like I do, people are not going to Facebook to read about marketing books. So you have got to choose the right media to reach your audience. And that's why it's so important to know what it is you want to do and where you want to go and how you want to get there. So in my case, what I found the best way to promote my writing was to do more writing. And so I have been writing like crazy, writing articles. I recently had a post picked up by Harvard Business Review about marketing metrics that matter. I just also had a post in Marketing Profs that talked about some of the key things you need to think about in marketing. And that's a big website that people go to find out about what's happening in marketing. I just had another post on the American Marketing Association blog. So these are ways that I don't sell the book, in quotes. I don't sell the book there, but I talk about some of my concepts and I provide useful information. And so people find out about me in the book that way. I also speak, and I speak a lot to organizations, associations, to companies, talk about the concepts in the book. As an author, I'm always looking to, when I do a speaking engagement, to have some kind of promotion where if they hire me to speak, that will reduce the fee and put in a quantity of books. So that's a way to get in front of people. So it's not, I don't think it's like go to Facebook and you're done, or go to Twitter and you're done. That's too easy, and that doesn't necessarily work.
Because it can be daunting though for some writers. I do see that a bit. It's the fear of the unknown. But in your case, because I'm looking at a couple of your websites, you deal with some Fortune 500 companies. How does that feel for you if you're sitting there in front of someone that's probably making $1 million before lunch? And you're going to go, right, so what we're going to do is throw one of your employees off the building. That'll be good marketing.
Oh, well, I wouldn't do that. I don't like the sight of blood, and it's messy and all that. So, I think you need to know your audience. I mean, one of the things when I talk to large companies, it's about how do you get a perspective from an outsider, because they have large marketing departments, right? Yeah. But if they're not getting the results they want, then maybe they need someone to look at it from the outside and let's come up with some different ideas. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody you have is terrible and should be gotten rid of. It means that you may need to look at things from a different perspective. And here's the thing, you've gotten to where you are today, but how are you going to get to the next level, right? So you've done some great things. How are you going to get even further? You need new ideas. And companies that are growing are always looking for new ideas. And so you have to position yourself that way. And the other thing I think you need to do is you need to think as an author, you're marketing yourself. Because you are in a sense, the product that people see. You're marketing the book and you're marketing the concepts. In my case, I'm talking about saying that social media is not it, that you need to get above the noise by going back to doing things that are different or that are the same, but we haven't done. We've been doing things differently. We've been focused on digital and social and whatever. And that's a very different contrarian message, but that's the message that I'm talking about. And that message is resonating. So you've got to understand that in today's world, the publisher does not put you out there and roll out the red carpet. If they do, I haven't met them yet, and say, here you are. And just sign here because we just sold 10,000 books. They expect you to have the platform. And as an author, before you even get published, you need to start thinking about where am I going to go and be heard? And yes, you want Twitter, and yes, you want Facebook, but you want to look for other places to get heard as well.
I think Dean Mays, who we had on a couple of weeks back, the way he sort of got his start, he was just posting up on a blog. And then when he got his publishing deal, he had to take the works down, and people got really pissed off.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah.
That's a good problem if you have that many people who are pissed off. That's
absolutely
a good sign in my book.
Yeah.
So, well, what you're saying is, and I've been reading about this trend as well, so I think it's interesting to bring it up, is that we've been so distracted by social media because it's loud and it's self-perpetuating. So I think that's part of why it's so loud. That if you're a new author, you have your brand new book, the thing to do is to pull back a little bit and say, where can I go speak? Is this a young adult book, and should I target high schools and say, hey, I've got this message that I'd like to share with your students? If it's like in your case, like a business book, should I go target service clubs and go speak in front of them? Should I get involved in conferences? That quote old-fashioned getting in front of people is still effective. Would that be right?
Absolutely.
That would be a better way. Then from there, you can invite people to join you on Facebook or to follow you. But I think, and I've seen this in a Facebook analysis recently too, is people are following people on Facebook who they already know. It's not like you're making quote new friends and suddenly following.
Right.
And we need to back off and kind of reconsider what that means.
Yeah, but
and how we're using it.
With the public speaking thing, though, I mean, I don't write to think, what? If I get this out, I am going to be doing the public speaking circuit. No, thanks. I like being alone in my quiet room.
Good point. And it's hard for authors to come out with that. I think probably one of the better solutions, if you're just getting your toe in that, and we've talked about public speaking a lot on this podcast, is to say, all right, I'll be part of a panel. I'll take part in something where there's a bunch of other people sitting on stage with me. And that's a good way to kind of get yourself in there. But that's how you create that connection. I think, Linda, you're right. You need to be out there making those personal connections.
Yeah, and again, there was a time when a publisher would do some of this, when the market would do it for you, and that's not happening today. There are more books being published today than ever before. And we talk about the long tail where Amazon's got 8 million books or more out there. So how are you going to stand out from the other 7.9 million books out there? You need to be doing something. So I agree, Damien, that not everyone is a public speaker. And in fact, I heard the statistic that some people are more afraid of public speaking than death, which I don't understand, because if you have a bad public speech, you can always kill yourself afterwards. But I mean, you should be afraid of it.
Both.
Yeah, you can do both. But there's other ways. And this is where technology can be your friend, because you could get on Skype and you could do this, or WebEx, or some other video platform. You could create a podcast, and you could create your own. You could be a guest on a podcast like this related to your topic. You could do audio, you can do video. And video again, people think of video, they think of Hollywood and big productions, but you can sit in front of your computer or use your iPhone and create a good quality video that's 30 to 60 seconds long that talks about a concept. Not an hour, not 10 minutes, but a minute, maybe a minute and a half at the longest. And put that out there and get it on YouTube and start posting on other people's blogs. So it's not just standing up in front of a group of 500 people. There are other ways to do this. But you're going to have to get out there and promote yourself and blow your own horn, because it's not going to happen for you.
Because I come from the point of view of the newbies, right? See, I protect our newbie listeners, and I'm just thinking of all the people that got heart palpitations right now, going, my book's out, and I'm going to have to talk to people. Yes.
You are going to have to talk to people, but do it on your own terms. So if you want to stand up in front of a group, great. If you want to do a reading, in front of at a bookstore, that's great, but you're not going to reach as many people. But what about writing, I guess, a blog post? If you're a writer, you like to write about what you wrote about, why the topic is important. Yeah. Write on other people's blogs, comment on other blogs, get in front of other people. And you can do it virtually as well as in person. But if you just want to write the book and put it out there and then go back into your kind of little cave, I'm not sure you're going to be that successful as a writer.
Yeah, but my man cave is safe.
Oh, well, the man cave is different.
That's where men are made. Anyway, Catherine's got a book out. It's about the gold rush. How would one market that? Should she walk around in, I don't know, gold rush clothes and pan in the sidewalk when it's
Well,
raining?
there you go. So let me ask you, so Catherine, who's the real audience? Who are the people that you would love to read the book and buy it?
Mine is a young adult audience, so it's girls between the ages of 13 and 18.
Okay, so so that means that you need to find where those girls are,
Right.
and they may be on some social media. They may be gathering in in certain areas. There may be some school events that you want to do. You may
Right.
want to. Influencers might be teachers and other activities that girls are involved in. So they're in California, and I'm in California as well with the drought. But we have all of our kids at a certain age go up to the gold rush country and they do that historical thing.
Right.
So there's
Fourth grade, though. Yeah.
that's younger, but you
Yeah.
can start to build something around that. So there's all different ways, but knowing who, if your reader is a young adult female, then the question is who influences them and,
Right. Oh,
and
that's a
how
good
do you
point.
create buzz? And that's where you would go. And I know you don't have to dress up in gold rush clothes, though it might be interesting.
Mm.
I wouldn't recommend it as the #1 strategy.
No, I could do it for the Constitution Parade and in my hometown, but that's about it. I think.
Yeah, there you go.
I think you need to recruit Justin Bieber, Catherine.
There you go.
Mm.
Okay.
Love to interview him. I'd go to town on him. Anyway.
Yeah, let's not do that to the poor boy.
But with marketing in general, though, do you have to really think outside the square? Because I just see marketing seems to become more and more quirky now.
Well, the successful stuff is, but then it's
Yeah.
how do you train yourself to know when you're being quirky or when you're just going to crash and burn.
It's just about spin, though, isn't it? Like I see,
Well-
McDonald's, for example, have got here in Australia, you can create your own because be your own chef. It's still McDonald's.
It is still McDonald's.
Mm.
But here's the thing. McDonald's knows who their audience is, and they are targeting them. In the U.S., at least, they are not doing very well because a lot of other people are targeting McDonald's audience. So it's not clear that they have a unique product offering anymore that people are really focused on. And so they seem to be kind of thrashing around. Now, in Australia, that may be different.
Mm.
But again, you need to know, if you go back to those 8 basics I talked about and you have that right, then you can say, now that I've got this, let's do something that's fun and outside the box. As long as I know that I'm reaching the right people and I have the right message and I'm influencing them and I have the right product, boom, I can put all that together. But you can do all this quirky, fun stuff. And if you don't have you're not talking to the right people, you don't have a good product, you don't have the right, the right message, it's just a waste of time and energy. And all you're doing then is creating more of this noise.
What do you do, though, if you get the wrong audience in a sense of, like, so Catherine says that hers is young adult aged for teenage
13,
girls,
14.
but then
Yeah.
she finds, and she's marketing that, but it's not really working, and she finds all of a sudden there's men between the ages of 25 and 30 that happen to be reading her book. What do you
That's
do then?
okay.
Do you have to then
I mean,
read?
I don't think that's a problem. I look at something like, I'm thinking about a book like The Fault in Our Stars, which was a young adult book, which has become a real adult book, right? It became a movie and everything. I don't think that they're having any problem with the fact that they're selling that book to adults. I think the only time you have to worry is if your audience is so far off that it just doesn't seem like it's in tune with what the content is. But then, I mean, in the Twilight books, same thing, right? They were started out for a young adult audience, and they became breakthrough bestsellers. Same thing with Harry Potter. Who would have ever guessed that the Harry Potter series, which was aimed at children and tweens, was really going to take off at the level that it did? So I think that's fine. And you need to look and see the feedback and say, hey, our book is not just going to teenage girls, it's going to 25-year-old men. How do we reach out to them? Is that really something that's consistent, or is that just kind of a just something, an aberration? And we don't, one person buys it who's an adult who's 25. That doesn't mean we should start targeting 25-year-old men, but we start to see a trend of that's who's buying it. We say, hey, let's change our marketing a little bit or change our message and make sure that we're reaching those folks as well.
So then, is it worth starting your marketing, like sitting down and thinking about it, even before you've completed the book, before it's sent off to be published, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. I mean, you think it, and being new, this is my first commercially published book. I've done some self-published things before, and I've written my whole life. But as a newbie author to the commercially published world, I mistakenly thought, okay, I wrote the book and I was done. But you write the book, and you've got to go through the editing and production process, and you've got to start marketing it. And my publisher, a small house out of Boston called Bibliomotion, they basically said to me, here's our spreadsheet of things you're going to start to need to do, and you need to do this even before you finish the book. Here's when you need to have this, this, and this done. So it's an ongoing process, and there are things that, for example, if you want to talk to long lead publications that interviewed today but may not publish the article for 3 or 4 months, if you want that to come out before the book is published, you're going to have to talk to them a couple of months in advance. Right. So it's not waiting till the book comes out. You want to sort of, it's kind of like you're having a birthday party, a big birthday party. If you wait until that day to plan everything, it's not going to be much of a party. You've got to send out the invites in advance and make sure you're set and before it all happens.
That presumes you've got friends to invite.
Well, that's true. Minor detail.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't have many friends. No.
I was going to say, let's not go there. That will make us all sad.
Oh, I had a question. I got sidetracked with a stupid comment. Catherine asked something. It'll come back to me in a minute.
It'll come back to you. So what would you say as you're looking at marketing, excuse me, what would you say was like some of the breakout ideas, or what's going to be like the new thing? Have you been able to kind of say, oh, look at this coming down the pike. This is going to be the next Snapchat, or this is going to be, the next, here's one of the trends that I'm seeing in business is going back to actual mailed direct marketing. An actual mailed card, because no one's doing it anymore. So it's like, all right, there's a gap. We're going to go fill that up.
Well, I can't tell you who the next Snapchat is. I wish I could, but I do think there's a trend to doing things in a physical form. So, for example, we can all send out email, but a lot of email gets caught in spam filters or doesn't get read. Right. And so there is something to sending out a physical piece of paper, a physical book, a physical an article, something. In a way that doesn't look like junk mail, that looks like, hand addressed, etc. I see a move to have more thank you notes, for example, that are handwritten and say, thank you so much for working with me, Catherine. And to send those out. The companies that do that are standing out because most people don't. So I do think there's a way it's not that everything that's old is going to come around again. Certainly we've left some of the things by the wayside. But there is some, and if you even think about meetups, right? Meetups are ways that you get online and you find a group. And what does the group do? They then go and meet in person. So we are using the net to find people, and then those people go and meet in person. They don't just sit on Skype all night and chat. The idea is to find people who have a common, and I talk about conversations and content and community, because really you want to have a conversation with your customers, but we as individuals in today's world are interested in having conversations. We don't want to be lectured to one way, and we also don't want to talk to someone and not have something come back. So how do we find the right people to have conversations around the right content and create communities? And some of the communities are, yes, on Facebook, but some of them are in real life. And we now have the ability to find these different communities, no matter what kind of strange, interests that you might have. We can find them, and then we can go and we can meet in person. So I do think those people who enable that to happen are going to find a role as we move forward.
Okay.
Have you ever been into a client, an organization, that sort of thing, and like this show, you spend an hour with them and then you walk away going, wow, they're idiots. I'm never dealing with them again.
Oh, no. There are people who get things and people who don't. And you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. So I have talked to clients or potential clients, and they want to do what they're going to do. And no matter what I say, they've already decided what path they're going to go on. And so I'm probably not the right fit for them. But you need to have an open mind. And if things are either not working well and you want to fix it, or they're working well, but you want to get better and take it to the next level, you need to change something, right? If we keep doing everything we did before, we're going to get the same results again at best. So someone who says, let's figure out what we could do differently and how we could do things a little bit better, those are the people I like to talk to.
What about, have you come across people that have got the fear of doing marketing, that there's a fear that it'll work too well? I'm thinking of like my business. I don't do any marketing whatsoever, and I'm booked up to near the end of the year. And I think, God, if I was to do something like that, I could not cope if it worked. What do you do in those situations if you come across someone like that?
Well, that's interesting, and that's a wonderful problem to have, right?
Yeah.
So then my question would be, you're booked up till the end of the year. Is it all business that you want? Is it the business? Are they customers that, or clients that are really the most profitable for you? Would you like to be able to pick and choose opportunities that were more interesting, that were more profitable? Maybe you should be raising your rates. Maybe you're not charging enough. And if you were able to market, you'd be able to raise your rates and make more money and not work any harder. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Some people have said that out loud to some other people. Ooh, third-party endorsement.
Some other people may have already, I may have put my rates up already, and we're still busy. And I do pick and choose now. It's a good position to be at. I'm not complaining, but I'm just trying to think.
Don't complain.
The reason is someone actually asked me this the other day. They were like, well, what do you do sort of when it comes to getting your name out there? I said, well, I have a very green van, and that's about it. I don't need to do, it's just pure word of mouth. So, yeah.
So, but let's go back to word of mouth. If you are an author, yes, because Damien, you're an expert in your field, and you've got a very specific and you're very talented in a specific and difficult
and
field.
Good looking. You can put that in there.
But writers, there's a whole bunch of us. There's a whole bunch of us. So in order to make those connections, I think that sometimes we overlook really simple things like volunteering for something, or going to those dreaded chamber mixers, or going and putting yourself out to and into a group that maybe you've never gone to before, maybe you've never met these people. That's where you're going to make those new connections, and just kind of get the rumor out. Oh, that's Sue, and she writes about cement mixing trucks, and so you want to talk to her for an article. That's how you're going to start how to get that reputation and start that word of mouth. You have to be out there talking to people to get the word of mouth going, right?
You're absolutely right, Catherine. And I think you've hit on something important there, which is we like to network with the people we know. But sometimes from a business perspective, the most important or the most interesting new contacts are the people who you don't know well. You know well enough to say, Catherine suggested that I talk to you, Damien, but I don't know Damien very well. And so I have a warm lead into him from Catherine, but he's not in my normal circle, so he knows other people that I don't know. Right. And sometimes we go back to everybody we know, and we need to reach out to different people and get different circles and do that. And I think you're absolutely right. And as writers, a lot of us are used to sitting in front of a computer or sitting back at home and writing, and we need to be pushed a little bit. So word of mouth is extremely important, but it's also the kind of thing where you need to get people who pass it on, so to speak. And I've met Catherine. Catherine introduces me to Damien. Damien introduces me to someone else, and the chain keeps going and going that way.
Is it important, though, from just the bare basics, to have a professional outlook? And the reason being, when it comes to my van is professionally sign written completely. I had my trainee say to me, I saw another AV company that started the other day. He had written it on the side of his van with a texter, Bob's AV or whatever it was. And I said, and we sort of talked about it a bit. And I was thinking about authors as well. If you can pay to have a really good cover, and you think about it, $300-400, and there's probably authors going, yeah, but I don't have that. Well, find that money and do it, because I've come across them. They're on Google Plus, and they post up things like, I drew my own cover. And you look at them and you think, I'm not buying that whatsoever.
Yeah, it's sort of like, would you want someone who said, I did my own dental work, or I did my own electrical work? That old saying about people don't judge a book by its cover is not true. We, of course, judge a book by its cover. And, and it's extremely important that you have a cover, because you've only got a few seconds. And by the way, that's true of people too. We judge people by their quote unquote cover or how they come across to us, either online or in an email, or we meet them in person. And in 5 or 10 seconds, we make an immediate impression. So your van being professionally outlined and whatever, people are saying, hey, that's somebody I'm willing to spend some money with. Bob's AV that Bob scrawled in quick paint, I don't know if he's doing that with his van. What is he doing? Just grabbing a couple of cables and throwing them together? Does he really know AV? Can I trust him? Am I gonna spend as much money with him? Probably not. So I think certainly for an author, it's extremely important that you have the packaging correct, and whether you're doing it, the publisher's doing it. And I would, if the publisher comes up with a cover that you say, oh, that's just horrible, push back. And say, let's work on something else. And if you're doing it yourself and you're self-publishing, or you're going through, through Amazon or whatever, you need to really, really put something into, put time and effort into creating something that's going to look good. And then I would do my own focus group. I'd show it to a number of people who were friendly, but who sort of met the group criteria of who I'm working for. So if Catherine's got a book for young, 13 to 18-year-old girls, I wouldn't show that to the senior citizens. I would show it to 13, 18-year-old girls and say, what do you think? And don't get defensive, but just let them talk and say, well, that's strange, or gee, I like that, but why is it that color? And so stop and listen and just be quiet, and you will learn a lot. And from there, you can tweak things and make them much better.
Because if you've got that good cover and someone picks it up or they buy it just based on that, does it really matter then if you get a number of reviews saying, oh, that's rubbish, this book's crap? Does it matter? They already bought the book.
Well, okay. There's two different things here. Number one, they've got to buy the book first, right?
Right.
So we talk about in marketing, we talk about an envelope or an email's main, the main role of an envelope when we did direct mail, that was physical direct mail, was to get itself opened. And same thing with an email header. The only role of an email header in a marketing campaign is to get you to read the email. Well, the only role of a cover for a book, for all practical purposes, is to get you to pick up the book, whether physically, if you're in the store, or online, and buy it and start reading it. Now, you still need reviews. Reviews are incredibly important today. And you need to go out and ask your friends, relatives, friends of friends, friends of relatives, whatever, because you do need reviews, because we are in a society where we look at what people say. And if you have no reviews, I wonder about, I don't care how good your cover is. Why is nobody talking about your book? So that's also important.
Right. So how do you deal with then shit reviews if you get one?
Here's the thing. Well, first of all, you need to know you have a good product and that you've got something that really does meet the needs of your audience. And then once in a while, you may get a review that just isn't very good. And you just don't stay up at night worrying about it, because if you've done your homework and things are working well, you've got a whole bunch of other reviews that are much nicer and much better. And what starts to happen is people look and they say, oh, you've got 50 reviews and one of them really didn't like your book, and 48 of them or 49 of them liked it from 3 to 5 stars. That just says these are real reviews and I can trust it. So in a sense, you get credibility. Now, if you have 50 reviews and 48 of them trash your book, you have a problem. And the problem is probably with you, not the reviewer. So that's what you need to be aware of.
Well, I got a question here, and it's probably going to sound offensive because that's how I am. Why is your book on marketing better than any of the other ones that are out there at the moment?
Why is my book better? Because my book takes the contrarian position that it's not about social media. It's not about new technology. It's not about trying to get conversions and Google, placement and all that. But it's about stepping back and really understanding what it is you want to accomplish, how you're going to get there, who your customers are, and how you're going to measure what you're doing. And so it's about real results. And that's one reason that that my book is different. So it's not about a quick fix. It's not about saying take this pill and you're going to be beautiful and thin and rich and all that. It's about saying there's some work you have to do, but it's the right work. And when you get there, you'll be much better for it.
So do you take on clients as authors? Like if there's an author sitting there listening to this now, they go, oh, right, well, I'm gonna contact Linda, and she can do it for me.
Absolutely. Sure. I've worked with authors. I've worked with consultants. In addition to working with larger companies, I also coach and mentor other authors and entrepreneurs and consultants. I've also edited several other professionally published books. So I've done that as well. So I work with people in all different ways.
I noticed on our notes, you reference your assistant. What's it like having an assistant? Is it like in the movies where you go, get me some coffee, I'm working?
Is it all joyful and fabulous? Because
Yeah.
that's what we always think. Oh, it's going to be
No.
great. Do all my work.
Well, it's a virtual assistant, so getting the coffee would not be easy.
That would be hard. All right.
That would be hard. You'd have to order
No
it over
coffee.
Starbucks, yeah. But it's just helpful to, especially for scheduling. That's really where I find it is. And scheduling is just one of those things. Are you available Monday? No. What about this day? What about that day? So doing that is really quite helpful.
Is it
Yeah.
a Californian thing? Catherine, who's your assistant? You need to have one. You can flick your fingers. Or you on
Yeah,
one
my
hand only.
assistant. My assistant is 4 years old and reprograms the computer in about 3 seconds. She's a genius, but I can never figure out what she just did to all my stuff.
Ugh.
Uh-oh.
I have pictures of my assistant saying, "Grandma, Grandma, Grandma, I sit. I look like Grandma." And then she starts typing. It's like, no, don't touch the computer.
Yeah.
So my assistant is kind of random acts of virtual violence.
Right.
There you go.
See, I have an assistant every Friday, but he's 17.
Right.
And do you know what was interesting yesterday? I bumped into the guy that taught me everything that I knew. And I was standing there with my assistant. It was very strange. And
Oh, how funny.
I said to Dave, look, if you're ever interested in taking on another young guy, you can have this one here. And he says, no, I lost my will to live with you. I don't want to do it again. And so we had a bit of a joke. He left, and I turned to my assistant and I said, hey, you want to know why I'm like I am? You can blame that man that just drove off. And he just
There we
looked at
go.
me like, oh, really?
So you have an assistant.
You have a good
one
assistant. 'Cause
already.
Your assistant can do the eye rolling, furball coughing. I mean, he's like right at that age, which is just, it's so humbling to have one of those around.
Yeah,
There
but,
you
you
go.
know, it's also not good business practice to backhand them either.
No, you're not allowed to do that. Sorry.
No. Anyway, now, Linda, where can we find your books and you out on the internet? Because that's where we are.
Okay.
Out on the internet right now.
Out on
Since
the
we're not
internet.
doing-
You're on the internet.
I'm on the internet. No, you can find my book on Amazon, on
Mhm.
Barnes & Noble, and you can find it at independent bookstores. And you can find out more about it at my website, marketingabove.com. And you can find out about me there and about my services and all kinds of interesting things. There's links to some of the articles that I've been quoted in and other resources and a sample chapter, all kinds of good stuff.
Cool. Well, normally we ask, what's the ultimate tip for a newbie? But I've got to sort of spin on that. What's one thing, or what's something that everyone listening to this, new author or whatever, should go out and do right now when it comes to setting up a bit of marketing? Just one thing to get
So
them
one
started.
thing to do, let's see, God, I've got a whole list of things I'd like you to
Yeah.
do. But I think the number one thing that you should do is to start with as a new author is go out and Google yourself and see what's being written about you today. And then go figure out what you want your brand to be as an author. What would you like 6 months from now if you're a new author, or a year from now? What would you want people to be saying about you? And then start to think about, go backwards and say, what do I need to do to make that happen? But before you do that, see what's out there about you today.
Right.
And
I
what's
like that.
So, but what happens if you Google yourself, like I have done once before, and, well, like this podcast just comes up for 180 links?
Well, that's great,
You're welcome.
but you probably should look about other ways to have people find out who's Damien and what do I do. But this is great. There could be a lot worse things that could come up for you. So this is fantastic. 180 mentions.
Yeah. Yes, we'll leave that alone before I get incriminated. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. We've got a few things that we need to do when it comes to things like prompts and tortured sentences. So feel free to stick around for that.
Okay.
Word of the week, Catherine. Should we do that?
Word of the week.
You're looking for it. I've got it in front of me. This one comes
You
from
got it in
Arlene.
front of you. You go. It's from Arlene Miller.
Yes, comes from Arlene Miller from bigwords101.com. And I think I'm pronouncing this right, because if I don't, it's going to sound very wrong. Kumis. Kumiss. It's a noun.
Yeah, kumis sounds right.
Because kummis would sound wrong. Fermented mare's milk. That's why I didn't want to mispronounce it.
I don't blame you. It was just a really weird ass word, so I thought, let's go for that.
Who does that?
Who does that as a word, or who does that when she's trolling around for word of the week?
Who does that? Why are you looking up fermented mare's milk?
I didn't look it up. It just came to me.
I'll bet.
Came to me in a vision. It was awesome.
Right. Well, let's do a tortured sentence.
All right.
Next time, don't put the wrong fasteners on the right slab. Tortured sentences. So I pulled that from a Fortune 500 company where Linda was holding the CEO over a balcony going, you will market this properly. Anyway, I think this is the torture sentence. You've got the notes here, Catherine, dishonorable mention.
Yeah, it's from the contest that produces it was a dark and stormy night.
Right. Well, this
right,
one,
and so this was a contest winner with a dishonorable mention.
I like the way the person that wrote it used the name Thor. I feel like I'm going to be Thor after this. Now, the Swan Queen spread her wings with all the quick grace of a businessman hailing a taxi in New York City and leapt high into the air like said businessman, swearing and jumping back from the curb as the taxi he was hailing, I need a breath, speeds past and splatters him with sludgy city puddle water, but in a more graceful way than the second bit. Wow. Okay. Linda, market that.
These are tortured on purpose, and then I'm gathering up tortured by accident. So it's almost like we've got two categories. Is how hard do you have to work to create a truly bad sentence? Whereas sometimes students have this innate ability to just rattle them off. So it's like I've got these two sides. Whereas like I go for the ones that have been, I really want to make a bad sentence, and the others like, I just mixed all my metaphors and threw them all into one sentence. Thank you.
I could just picture someone coming to Linda and saying, I've written this book. Here's a little snippet. And she going, yeah, that's not even worth marketing.
Well, go back. Remember what I said about you got to have a good product to start with. So you've got to go back and say, hey, can I sell this or not? Yeah.
Just send them back an email saying, try again.
Try again. 3 tries for a quarter.
Oh, try again. So mean.
Oh, now. Prompt. Now, Linda, I don't know if you use like prompts or anything like that to try and get you into the writing mood, or if it just flows. But some people like prompts. Now, this one here says, listen to your favorite song. Take the lyrics and turn them into a story. Huh. Well, it comes back to Bieber. I don't think you're going to make a very good story out of whatever he sings about.
You could. You just have to think about your favorite song, not necessarily a popular song. So that's two different categories.
So if your favorite song was Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, you could write about having fleas.
There you go. That was very deep of you.
It was, because I know, well, that or gastric reflux, because I know that's what that song gives me.
You are cranky. It's the cranky show. Sorry, Linda. It was the cranky show.
That's how it is. I can't help myself. All right. So, yes. Now, Linda, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, shout out to, just everybody out there. Nobody in particular.
That's a phone in, isn't it? Come on. What about the dog or the cat?
The dog is Mocha. Mocha almond fudge.
Right.
He's a Siberian Husky.
Oh, I'd like to get a dog. Not allowed.
Very fun.
Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, Catherine?
No, because I'm mad at all the doctors for making me walk around with a really cumbersome cast. So once I get it off, they get a shout out.
Right. Yeah, I got no one to give a shout out to. I've done my bit, I think.
I think you've done your bit. Yes.
Yeah. Time to go. Oh well, no. Yeah, I will. I'll give a shout out to my nan's lawyer because her will money came through. So I'm going to go buy a TV. She'll be really impressed with that.
Oh, I'm sure that's what she had in mind.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. That's what we do. No, I'll find something more appropriate, I think. All right. So next week, who have we got on?
We have got Michael J. Sullivan back on. We're going to try again.
Ah, cool. I didn't know that. Well, there you go. Shouldn't ask questions that I haven't.
There you go.
looked
Aren't
into.
you glad you asked? So you can find out what you're doing next week.
Some research then. Oh, hang on. Who am I kidding? I never do any research. Jeez. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, Linda.
It's
you,
been a
Linda.
pleasure being here. It's been fun.
Good. We strive for that.
Till next week. We'll see you then.
See you then.
Your book starts here on the Newbie Writers Podcast.